It's interesting because you talked about business models that scale, but actually scale needs to happen at every aspect of the organization, from the processes, from the legal department to the business model.
You start off doing QuickBooks and you end up with an accounting department of 30 people. I mean, you know, and if you want to avoid having an accounting department of 70 people, you kind of want to systematize the accounting as much as possible.
Can I just add to that? I think it's a critical point. There's the outside, you know, the external part, and then there's the internal part, the processes, as Michael is saying. And I think very early on, what I'd recommend to folks here in this room is decide what role you want to play. So, you know, people here in the room right now saying, I'm starting a company, myself, I have 2 co-founders, 1 co-founder, whatever the makeup of the core team is, decide what role you want to be. A mistake I see a lot in terms of early stage startups is that the founder has good sales. You know, Dave, you made a great point in the last panel about there's a lot of sales involved in terms of you know, getting a company going. And one of the guys in my company once said, Jack, you can sell a no-legged bull to a rodeo. I was like, you know, okay. So there is, and I agree with that. And that's why there has to be somebody out there who's facing externally. What I find too much is that entrepreneurs try to do everything. They try to do the external sales part to the VCs, to the angels, to the early customers, to all the key stakeholders, and they're trying to set up the processes at the same time. What I'd recommend is either finding a co-founder or somebody else. If you are that person who's really good at interpersonal relationships, if you're good at interacting with people and reading people, and you have a good EQ, a good emotional intelligence, then go out and do that and find somebody immediately who could be back at the shop taking care of the internal stuff. Don't try to straddle both. You will literally burn out, you will die, and the company will die. And I've seen that happen again and again. On the other hand, if you're the quiet, introverted type, and you want to just really be coding all day, that's cool too. There's absolutely fantastic. Then just find a crazy person who's willing to go out and do the other stuff, and that's fine too. So very early on, that's a key decision to make in terms of how you want to structure that company. The other thing I would also say is really try to boil your idea down to its core essence. An easy way for early companies to fail is by trying to do too much and saying yes too often. I try to encourage companies to say no more and to boil things down. In terms of our case, my first company, we had a very simple idea. We were all techies. I was a programmer from the age of 10. I know it looks crazy now that I was geeky, but yes, I was very geeky. And from the early on, I realized that we techies were making stuff for everybody else. We were building stuff for banks and hospitals and Cambridge University and all kinds of other people, but nobody was building stuff for us. There was no company dedicated as its mission to build stuff and create services just for techies. And that was our core mission and our core idea. And one of the first successes we had around that was Java. When the Java language came out, we decided to create a site for the Java community, and it became a crowdsourced site and very successful. It gave us immediate feedback. So 1, in terms of decide which role you want to play, and 2, take your idea and really just shave it down, and anything outside of that, you really have to be kind of strict to say, initially, I don't know, we're not going to go to that other crazy thing because we want to try our idea first.
Finding the product market fit and really focus.
Yeah.
So, Liz, when you overcome that first hurdle and you're starting to look at markets, because you know you're geographically constrained to some degree in any business, well, maybe not, but in some businesses, how do you think about changing, going to that next level, tackling a new market? What kind of analysis comes into play in order to really hit global numbers?
For the first probably 10 years of our business, well, we're a Canadian company, so by definition, every time we sell something in the States, we're exporting. I mean, we are actually 90% of our business for the first 10 years was coming from the States, very little from Canada. So we started exporting. So we set up our business to look like a US company. You couldn't really tell we were Canadian. So we already knew how to do distribution and exporting to set up warehousing and whatnot. And so then when we looked to go globally, when we finally had a product that we felt there was going to be worldwide demand for, we started to find key distributors in other markets. And you pick your distributors carefully based on this kind of channels that they can serve. And really, it's a question of making sure that you have enough product that you can satisfy the channel, because it's kind of stupid to go and build up all these channels and not be able to satisfy them. And a lot of people actually have that problem. They don't really realize it. They have all these people wanting their products, and then they can't fill that pipeline fast enough, and that can also cause you to implode as well. But I think to export, the most important thing to understand is the culture into which you're exporting, and the price they're willing to pay. One thing people don't really realize is that European prices all include VAT, and now with the internet, that's one of the biggest problems for companies exporting, is because your distributors need to make a margin. Plus, they've also got to put VAT into that price. So now all of a sudden, for you to make money and your distributor to make money, the price in Europe has got to be something, like 50% higher than it is in the States. Yet people in Europe can go online and say, well, why is this thing $100 in the US and it's now, 200 pounds in Britain or whatever. And that is a big thing that has to be overcome. So you have to figure out how to deal with that kind of margin structure as well.